I automatically felt weird, nothing happy or welcoming about this thing that she saw behind. Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Harmony Nice, and today I thought I'd do something a little bit different to what I usually do, which if you've come to my channel before is usually makeup and hair and stuff and things about piercings. But yeah, since it's getting towards Halloween, I thought it would be really interesting to do a video all about my paranormal experiences. I think that's how you say it. Paranormal? I'm not sure. Anyway, I've seen a lot of these videos on YouTube recently, and like a couple of nights ago I watched so many and I scared myself. I just thought it'd be interesting to share them with you since it's getting towards Halloween. It's a very touchy subject because some people really don't believe in them, some people really do, and it's kind of no in between. You either do or you don't, or like I kind of think, you know, seeing is believing and all that. So I think once you've experienced something you kind of believe, but if you haven't then why should you? Do you know what I mean? So anyway, yeah, and I'm a very spiritual person. You know, I know some people don't believe, but I honestly promise that I have never, I'm not gonna like lie to you, this is what happened, this is the truth, I'm not, you know, gonna exaggerate anything, I'm literally gonna tell you how it is. Feel free to express your opinion if you think there could be reasons behind what happened, blah blah blah, but you know, just feel free to disagree. I've had 3 paranormal experiences properly altogether, so I'm just gonna start from age-wise, so like the first one that ever happened to me. Okay, so my first ever paranormal experience was at my best friend's house. Now, I pretty much grew up with this girl. I used to spend so much time at her house, you know, we were inseparable. I pretty much grew up at this house. Just to state, this is a lovely house. I've never, you know, I grew up there, I really loved it. It was never like a bad place for me. But yeah, so when I was probably about 7 or 8, maybe a bit older, I'm not really sure, so we used to have sleepovers all the time, like almost every weekend, and I was around her house one night and, you know, we were just watching movies and eating, and it was just a nice kind of, you know, as we usually did, probably watching Austin Powers or Naked Gun, which were like really inappropriate for our age, but yeah, we used to watch movies like that and all that, and we were in a small room which was like a sort of conservatory bit that had 2 big windows facing like the road, because her house was like, the front of it was quite near the road, so it was a big old house, and yeah, 2 big windows, and it was quite a small room, and the kitchen was next to the small room, and we used to like to sleep downstairs and in the living room and in the conservatory and all that, and just, you know, because it was fun, it was something different. So yeah, we stayed down there and we had like 2 mattresses, sorry, and sleeping bags and covers and all that, and we were really like, loved to make it like a little den. And so yeah, so one night we were just talking up late, and I always fell asleep before her, so I fell asleep and she fell asleep not soon after me, and well, I'm assume anyway, and yeah, so I woke up about 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, so I was just sitting up and there's these blinds in front of these 2 big windows. So behind the blinds I saw some like leaves rustling, and I knew it was just the bush, so I was just like, oh whatever, and I kind of like sat up as I heard this really loud rustle that was coming from this bush. I was just kind of sitting up and I was looking at the window, and the window began to like open, so like it was one of those ones that were like went up, so it was going up, and like I could see like a hand like pushing it open, and the blind was going up at the same time, so it was kind of like just going like that really slowly, and I was obviously freaking out, and I went to go wake my friend up, and she's a really deep sleeper, she wouldn't wake up. I was sitting there watching something like emerge from the window, and then it looked like someone was like stepping inside the window, and then I like pulled my covers over me and like held it tight, and the next morning I couldn't remember when I fell asleep or what happened after that. All I could remember was me pulling my covers over my head, and that was it. I didn't know what else had happened, and I couldn't remember what happened after that. It was just that. And I didn't really say anything to anyone at that point, because I was just a bit like, you know, it's probably just one of those things, because when I was younger I used to, you know, imagine all sorts, you know, and it's just, yeah, it was just one of those things I kind of never really mentioned to anyone, and then actually within the last like probably 5 years we found out that that house is actually haunted, and it's a very, very haunted house. And you know, there is known to be a man that lives there, like the man that died there, and yes, when I found that out I was like, I knew it, I knew that happened. And you know, I didn't know whether that was it or whether it was a hallucination or what. It just kind of happened, and I was like. The second experience I had is just more recently. It's probably about 4 years ago now. Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago now. God, that's a long time ago. And yeah, so just to set the scene for you again. I used to go around my best friend's house at that point, which isn't the same best friend that I had when I was younger, but another friend that I was really close friends with for about a year. I went around her house, and I used to go around her house really, really early in the morning, so like 7 o'clock, just so we could spend the day together or do something together. But nevertheless, I used to get up really early, go see her. And we also used to chill at her house. I'm not really sure why, but we just did. Maybe because her mum was never there, I'm not really sure, but we always used to go to her house and just chill there. And this house was very big and very old. Like, it was one of the oldest houses in the village that she lived in, and it was very, very, very old. Like, yeah, it was scary. Anyway, and it had 3 floors to it. So bottom floor was like living room, kitchen, and then there was bedrooms and a bathroom, and her bedroom right at the top. So her room was very cold. Her room always felt cold. It could be in the middle of summer, and the weird thing is it is at the top of the house as well, so really it should be warmer. But actually it just felt super, super cold all the time, and sometimes I felt it was so cold that I could barely stand up. I'd put the radiator on and it would still be cold. Yeah, and also the middle of, like, so there was like stairs that spiraled down, and in the middle of these stairs it always felt like super cold. Like, you want to run down these stairs because you did not want to stay there for a second longer than you could, and they were super cold. I didn't like going down there by myself, I didn't like going up them by myself. It was just a really horrible feeling. And yeah, so those stairs were just eerie and cold, and the whole of the other house just felt cold. Yeah, so I used to go there in the mornings about 7 o'clock, and we were getting ready one day to go out, and you know, she was like, oh, do you want to go get some breakfast for us? And I was like, yeah, of course. So I kind of walked down the stairs, and all the lights were off, and it was just me and my friend in the house. So I went to go make her breakfast, and you know, I was trying to find the cereal, trying to find the milk. I was standing in the kitchen, and suddenly the room got like super cold. Like, the kitchen had never been a really cold room, but I was standing there and the room got really cold, like, and I was just kind of thought, oh god, like, it's just like got cold outside. Got like almost unbearably cold, like to the point of me thinking like, this is ridiculous, like why has it suddenly gone this cold? And I was in like just like a top and some shorts, and I was freezing, so I was like going to go get some bowls from the bottom cupboard, and then these cups that were hanging up started clanging against each other, and it wasn't like a clang that was, you know, like a subtle clang, it was like a clang, you really jump. And then I heard something in the living room that sounded like rustles, you know, and I kind of thought, oh, someone's here. Just ignored it, thinking that I might just see, you know, like one of her family members as I walked through. But no, I finished making the cereal, I walked through there was no one in there, and I walked up the stairs, you know, just kind of ignored what had just happened, and I said, you know, is someone else here? And she went, no, all my family's at work. I was like, because I swear someone was downstairs, and she was like, no, and I was like, oh, like, there was definitely someone in the living room. And she was like, oh no, there wasn't. Like, she was like, kind of, don't scare me like that. And then she kind of told me and kind of went on, and we discussed it, and she said, well, actually, you know, my parents have told me, and I kind of worked out that this house is haunted. So there was a couple more experiences in this house. So after she told me that, I kind of didn't really feel the same about the house, you know, I kind of didn't feel as comfortable going around there all the time. But I was around there one evening, and we were watching TV, and I really remember us watching like SpongeBob or something, and we were sitting there, and she was like, I'm gonna go out for a cigarette, and I was like, okay. She was like, do you wanna come keep me company? And I was like, yeah, okay. So there was a living room, her kitchen, then the garden like bit, like just through this door. So we left this door open, and we were just in her garden, and we were talking, and then I heard a noise coming from the living room like I did the other morning. And I went back into the living room, and we hadn't turned the TV off, but the TV had been turned off. And we couldn't find the remote anywhere. So we were like, okay, well that's a bit weird, and she kind of looked at me and I was like, no, it's fine, whatever. So we went to the kitchen and we were making some food, and then again, like, we had the TV on because we just went back to watching TV, and I heard a noise and I was like, what is going on? And I walked back into it and the channel had changed. So we were watching SpongeBob and it had changed to like the news or something, which is like a completely different channel, and we still couldn't find this remote. So we were like obviously freaked out about that, and that was a really, like, I really felt uncomfortable, and I was like, I think we should stay at my house tonight. And she was like, yeah, okay. So we went to my house and stayed at my house instead. Yeah, and then so basically the last experience that I really had with this house before I kind of decided I didn't want to go back. It was really sad one day, so I called her, I was like, I'm going to come round, you know, I'll bring you some chocolate. So I bought her some chocolate. And I was walking and I saw her like running up the road, and I was like, what are you doing? Are you okay? And she was panicking. She hugged me and I was like, we never usually hug. So I was just like, you know what's wrong? She was like, no, you won't believe me, you won't believe me. I was like, just tell me what happened. She's told me that when she was doing her makeup, she had like a massive mirror above her bed, bearing in mind as well, where she used to do her makeup. So like one of these, but above her bed. And she used to do her makeup, and she said to me, like, you're not going to believe me, Harmony. She's like, but the lights just turned off and there was a woman standing behind me. She looked like she was like gonna cry, and it was really like, I was just like, no, she was like, no, seriously, there was a woman standing behind me. And so we went back to her house, walked up to her room, and you know, the room felt really cold, but I was like, well, there's nothing here. There couldn't have been a natural lady in our house. We didn't stop being friends, but we kind of drifted apart. And I had spoke to some people about this house, and a lot of people said that there was an old lady that fell down the stairs and died there. When I found that out, I was like, the stairs? And they're like, yeah, the stairs obviously was so cold, and the old lady in the mirror, and I just, oh my god, it just scares me. So I've got one more. This is the most recent one that I've had. Yeah, so basically one day, probably about 2-3 years ago now, it was more recent one. I was babysitting these children for they was my dad's friends' children, and you know, they were like, oh, do you want to come babysit? And I was like, yeah, sure, like whatever, I've got nothing to do, it's money. They lived in this big old house in the middle of nowhere, like I literally mean isolated. When I got to her house, you know, I kind of came in, the lady explained to me, you know, you've got some food, you know, they can have this and this and that, got to be in bed by like 8 o'clock, whatever. And she said, but can you just lock the door behind me when I leave, so you know I know everything's safe and everything? And I was like, yeah, of course. When she left, I locked the door, and there was a latch at the top, so I put the latch on, and then she was like, can you lock it properly? So she watched me do this, and I was like, yeah, okay, because I'm not gonna be, I like having the door locked because it's like no one can get in, you know. But yeah, so then I locked the door and I took out the key and I put it in the kitchen. So I walked through to the kitchen and put it in the kitchen. The house was very open, like there was big windows all around the house. Their main front door was the conservatory door, and they had 2 dogs that were big dogs, but they were just running around and they were fine. And they had this fireplace because they didn't like have any heating, so they had a fireplace to say, can you just keep putting logs on the fire, then you'll keep warm? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I kept putting logs on, the fire was just going fine. And it got to about 8 o'clock, and you know, the kids went upstairs, you know, I was like, oh, good night, you know, I think one of them was watching YouTube on my phone for a bit. Turned all their lights off, went downstairs, and I sat by myself. So I was sitting there and I was watching, probably Keeping Up the Kardashians, I think. And I was just sitting there with a blanket on. It was still cold, and even though the fire was going, you know, it was fine, whatever. I just assumed because they had no heating it was going to be cold. And so I sat down, and then I heard this like knocking noise coming from the kitchen. And I thought, is there someone like knocking at the door? So I went through to the kitchen and I was like, okay, the knocking noise stopped. It must just be like something battering in the garden or something. So I came and I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I went and I sat back down, and the fire had like died down. So I was trying to put logs in it, but the fire just wasn't starting up again. And I'm not very good at lighting fires anyway, so it was really cold. And they left me some donuts, so I was eating some donuts, having a great time. And then the knocking noise happened again. So after I heard this knocking noise again, I was like just sitting there like, no, I'm not gonna like go in the kitchen because it's just something, you know, I just kind of ignored it. It's just something stupid. I heard the dogs barking and was kind of like, why are the dogs barking? Like, what are they barking at? I'm literally not even kidding when I say I walked through to the kitchen and the conservatory door and the main door were wide open. I automatically felt weird, like scared. I had locked that door and I had bolted it, and I'd put the key in the kitchen, and the key was in the door and the doors were wide open. and they were like seriously wide open and the dogs were out. So I was thinking, the first thing, the dogs can't open doors and unlock them. So I was like, what the hell? And I thought, oh my god, there's someone in the house, and that's immediately what I thought. And then I went outside because I was like, I need to get the dogs in. Like, I was more panicky about the dogs than anything else because I was just like freaking out. The dogs were at the bottom of the garden barking at something, and I could see them because the garden was quite large, but I could see them because there was like a light in the garden. These dogs were barking so much. Jesus Christ. And they were barking at something near a bush, and I didn't want to go over there because I was thinking, what is that? But like, there is something that really doesn't want me here, and I felt like I need to get back inside. I need to get back inside. I need to get these dogs back in right now because this is not good. So I was calling. I thought there might have been a person, but then I was calling and calling the dogs and calling the dogs, and the dogs weren't coming. They were still barking at this thing, and I was like, get in to the house. So the dogs, they came running back in eventually. I locked the door again, put the latch on, locked it, put the key on the side. I was like, dogs, you were coming to the living room, you're sitting here with me. And yeah, so they sat in the living room with me, and there was a sofa, the comfiest sofa, you couldn't see the door, so I locked the door, and I didn't want to be in the kitchen because the kitchen was so open. I just didn't know what I wanted. I didn't want to see anything, so the kitchen, I just like stayed away from it. I kind of just sat in there, freezing cold, wrapped up in a blanket, and then I like was sitting there and I heard some pots clang in the kitchen. I was like, no, I'm not gonna go in there. Like, something had fallen down or something, because I was like, oh, I'm not going in there because I'm not gonna do it. But seriously, that was probably the scariest thing ever for me, because firstly, I really didn't understand how the doors could just unlock themselves and how the key could have moved. Parents were like late home for like an hour, and I was like panicking because I was like, I seriously can't be in this house for any longer. I think they asked me to babysit again, but I was like, no, because I've never felt so, like, if there was nothing good about how I felt in the house. Like, it was fine, and then the whole thing happened, and it didn't feel, I don't know, it sounds really weird, but it just didn't, like, I didn't feel like something wanted me there. It was just sinister, really. So that was all my paranormal experiences. I really, really hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's been a bit weird and a bit different, but it's quite interesting to hear story time. And if you've got any paranormal experiences you want to share with me, please let me know. I love hearing about these things, so I love reading them. Or if you've got any videos on your channel that you're telling paranormal experiences on, let me know as well, because I just love them. I haven't overly experienced like haunted stuff since my house is not haunted. But yeah, so I really, really hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and I hope you're having a good October, and I hope you're staying cosy and warm, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.